you, everyone. Let me just share the screen. Okay. So it is my honor today to be here at the webinar organized by Hong Kong ANC. And I'm very happy today to share the stage with two entrepreneurs and director who represent the creative industry. Also, Mr. Quinn Lai is also probably creative industry as well, although it is also partly manufacturing. So three very different businesses, all from Hong Kong, and I'm very honored to be here today. The topic is the businesses in, how to navigate the new normal, and new normal being, of course, the current socioeconomic climate, which is heavily impacted by COVID-19. And one of the foremost things that governments around the world are doing is to combat COVID-19 and try to get the pandemic under control so that people and businesses can have some chance of operating continuously. So I'm here to just give a brief update to our audience in the western part of the United States, especially here in the Bay Area, as you all have very strong connection to Hong Kong, what's happening in Hong Kong in terms of COVID situation. So at present, as of today, there are 5,480 cases, 118 still hospitalized, a total of 108 deaths, and 4 new cases today. As you can see, the 7-day period before today, an average of about 10 new cases per day. That is much less than what we saw at the peak of our second wave back in July, which saw over 100 cases per day. So we have more or less successfully wrestled down the number of new cases. And at present, the control measures include several aspects. First of all, the restaurants and bars, they're allowed to have dine-in between 5 a.m. and midnight. No more than 4 persons per table for restaurants, no more than 2 persons per table for bars. They can operate at a maximum capacity of 50%, and there is mandatory mask wearing in public places. It is worth noting that businesses, by and large, have not been required to shut down, and offices and schools are basically returning to normal operation. So another important infection control measure is early testing. Early testing helps to identify cases and for the health authorities to conduct track, trace, and quarantine. So for universal testing in September, a total of 1.7 million specimens were tested. There are and have been free testing for symptomatic or people with high exposure risks in public clinics. There are also free testing for targeted groups based on risk assessment. So for example, taxi and bus drivers, catering workers, workers at market stalls, etc. There are also now community self-paid testing centers set up by the government to provide low-cost testing for private purposes. For example, someone who's not symptomatic, who doesn't think he or she has anything wrong with them, but just want a test, for example, for traveling. They can get tested at these centers at a low cost of at most 240 Hong Kong dollars. That's about 30 US dollars, with test results within 24 hours. So with that situation more or less under control, the government's trying to gradually and cautiously open up the border. First, Hong Kong reached an agreement with Singapore to implement the travel bubble. From November 22nd onwards, quarantine-free travel between Hong Kong and Singapore will be possible. of course, subject to a list of conditions. For example, only designated flights that carry the approved passengers who have negative tests, and they have to follow certain procedures. But provided that they follow these procedures, they will no longer need to quarantine for 14 days at their destination, either in Singapore or in Hong Kong. From November 23rd, Return to Hong Kong travel scheme would allow Hong Kong residents who are coming back to Hong Kong from Guangdong province or Macau to enter without being subject to a 14-day quarantine. Also subject to a list of conditions. For example, pre-departure online registration. There are certain quotas for the 2 control points, how many are allowed in every day. Negative COVID test within 3 days prior to entry into Hong Kong, etc. So for those of you who might be thinking about going back to Hong Kong from the United States, there are also measures that you need to be aware of. So for example, number 1, you need to have a test report in English or Chinese of a nucleic acid test for COVID-19. Of course, it has to be a negative test with your name, with a sample taken within 72 hours before departure, and at a laboratory that is either ISO 15189 accredited or recognized by the government of the place where the laboratory is located. So number 3, you need to have confirmation of a hotel room reservation in Hong Kong for you to quarantine in a hotel for 14 days after departure. And at the airport, when you arrive, you will also need to take another COVID test and wait for the test result before you can either leave the airport or leave the designated place that the airport asks you to be at while waiting for the result. And then you will have to quarantine for 14 days in the hotel. And quarantine at home or Airbnb or guest house is not allowed. So a list of hotels can be found in this website. If I will share the website later if anyone's interested, because not every hotel welcome guests for quarantine purposes. But there is a list of hotels that would welcome guests and provide good services that I've heard good things about the hotels being very nice to the quarantine guests and ordering food for them, even if they don't have the local food apps. So that's something to keep in mind. So for everyone, if you want to know the Hong Kong latest situation, here are some of the important websites that you can find all the information I just talked about there. If you have any questions, feel free to email us. Our email is right here. So thank you very much. And I'll give the time back to Corey.
Yep. Thank you, Jacko. Thank you so much. Now we will have Ralph Chow to share the Hong Kong TDC upcoming event and trade service. Welcome, Ralph.
Thank you, Corey. Good evening, good afternoon, and good morning, depending on where you are. First of all, I think some of you may be confused about the roles of the Hong Kong Trade and Economic Office, represented by Jacko, and also the Hong Kong Trade Development Council, represented by me. Basically, the Hong Kong Economic and Trade Office, they are the government representative office in overseas. And our organization is a semi-government trade promotion body for Hong Kong. So that means that the salary I received is only half of that of Jacko's. Well, I think during the pandemic, a lot of the businesses have been affected and they are encountering serious problems due to the lockdown of the pandemic. But the message I would like to convey to you is to stay positive. I don't mean the test result of the COVID-19, but just to take the attitude to look for good business opportunities even though you are encountering the adverse conditions. As the old Chinese indicate, in every crisis, there will be opportunities. So we also can see that despite the pandemic over the past half a year or so, there are some sectors that are enjoying good businesses. First of all, the online shopping business or e-commerce business. As you can see, I think Amazon.com has been benefiting a lot from the pandemic because a lot of the households during the lockdown, they still need to order the food they need and also the daily necessities through the online shopping. Likewise, in China, the Tmall from Alibaba, they are also enjoying very good business. Same as for the Hong Kong TV Mall in Hong Kong, which provides the online sales service through the online platform. The Amazon.com, Jeff Bezos, obviously, you know, he's the richest man on earth. He has a net worth of over 200 billion US dollars, despite the fact that his ex-wife had taken a big chunk of his asset. He's still the richest man on earth nowadays. Another sector that has been benefiting from this pandemic is the video conferencing app like Zoom that we are using. You probably know that the richest man in Hong Kong, Li Ka-shing, he had invested in Zoom back in 2013, 2 years after the company was established. And now Li Ka-shing is holding about 8.6% of the stake in the company, which worth about 11.6 billion US dollars. Interestingly, this amount is constituting about 1/3 of Li Ka-shing's total personal asset. So you can see that with some foresight, you will be able to get rich. Another major opportunity is, of course, the Chinese market. Although China encounters a major problem during the most severe period of the pandemic in the first quarter, the GDP growth was negative 6.8% at that time, but it quickly bounced back to positive in the second and third quarter. In the second quarter, the GDP growth in China was 3.2%, and in the third quarter, it jumped up to 4.9%. So the tremendous market in China is obviously a great opportunity for everyone from the US who wants to tap the business opportunities there. Particularly some major US companies, they treasure the Chinese market very much, such as Apple, Tesla, and also GM automobiles. China offers them the greatest overseas market for all their products. In particular, for the Chinese market, the Greater Bay Area is an area that you can't afford to miss. I think all of you who are in the Bay Area, you recognize that the Silicon Valley is basically the growth engine for the Bay Area. Likewise, in the Greater Bay Area, we have Shenzhen, which is regarded as the Silicon Valley of China, and it is also serving as the growth engine for the whole region. And you can also imagine that in the Silicon Valley, if right next to it, you have New York as the financial center, and also Las Vegas as the entertainment center, then the overall attractiveness of the Bay Area will be greatly enhanced. Likewise, in the Greater Bay Area, apart from Shenzhen as the Silicon Valley for China, we have Hong Kong as the financial center and a major business hub for the region. We also have Macau, which is the entertainment center in the region. And you may be aware that the turnover of the casinos in Macau had actually surpassed that of Las Vegas already. Apart from these major cities, there are also manufacturing centers in the Greater Bay Area, such as Dongguan and Huizhou and so on. So the whole area itself is a very important economic region. In particular, the population there are more than 70 million people, and about double the size of the population in California. And most of the people there are regarded as the middle-class income group with good purchasing power. So the Greater Bay Area itself is a very important overseas market for the US companies. The Hong Kong Association of Northern California is one of the most important networking platform for all of you if you are intended to approach the market in Hong Kong or the nearby regions. Because in the US, we have 12 similar Hong Kong business associations with more than 3,000 members. So it is a very strong networking platform for all of you. And more importantly, the Hong Kong business associations in the US, they are under a greater umbrella of the Federation of Hong Kong Business Worldwide, which covers 46 Hong Kong business associations around the world in 35 countries with more than 13,000 members around the world. So by joining the Hong Kong ANC, you'll be able to get hold of all the membership network under the Federation of Hong Kong Business Association Worldwide. As for the Hong Kong Trade Development Council, we are a trade promotion body for Hong Kong. So we maintain a very strong data bank, capturing more than 130,000 Hong Kong companies. So if you are interested in making use of the Hong Kong platform in approaching the Greater Bay Area or the ASEAN market, we'll be able to refer to you the most useful trading partners or your potential business partners who can help you to promote your business to the regional market in Asia Pacific area. And the TDC also organizes a lot of international trade fairs and also international conferences to promote product trade and also services trade. But of course, during the pandemic, a lot of these activities have gone virtual. And for the upcoming events, we have, first of all, the Belt and Road Summit, which will be held on November the 30th to the December the 1st, which offers you the latest update on the opportunities that can be captured by you in the Belt and Road Initiative. Apart from that, there is the Hong Kong Forum, which is an annual meeting for the Hong Kong Business Association members. And again, this will go virtual and will be held on December the 1st to the 2nd, Hong Kong time. And for any members of the Hong Kong Business Association, you are most welcome to attend this Hong Kong Forum. And if you have any questions, you can always send your inquiry to the Hong Kong Business Association nearby. And of course, in California, we have the Hong Kong Association of Northern California and also Hong Kong Association of Southern California. So that concludes my presentation and the remarks today. So back to you, Corey. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ralph. Thank you. Thank you so much. So again, we have a Hong Kong Forum is coming up. Definitely, if you're interested in that, please